My baby boy is a young man now and amazes me more and more every day as he protects and takes care of his little sister, not to mention keeps me in line. Proud of you and love you, Mom. Oh, he's keeping you in line. Oh, so that's why he became a murderer and you helped him. Okay.
You are now listening to The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast hosted by Kay on Spotify. A podcast aimed to uncover and share the stories behind heinous and insane acts that have been overlooked or overshadowed by mainstream media, getting justice for the voices that can't speak.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Kay, and I am the host of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast. A podcast designed to focus on crimes committed in the Black community that you don't hear about in mainstream media, giving a voice to those victims that have otherwise been silenced. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast with me, Kay, the Texas girl in a Georgia world, baby. Ladies, how y'all feel? Fellas, y'all all right? It is Tuesday, August 19th, and I am so mad. This was supposed to be dropping on Sunday. I know. But it's Tuesday, August 19th, and I know that the show is like 2 days late. I apologize. Look, y'all, I tore my house up from top to bottom looking for that freaking cord for my damn microphone. Had my child moving furniture, all kinds of stuff. That daggum cord is like literally 3 inches long, but it is so important and vital. And I apologize sincerely. Like I'm talking about Anita Baker. I apologize. That kind of apologizing, y'all. But clearly I'm recording, so y'all see your girl is here. What did Celie say? Dear God, I'm here. Yes, I am finally recording. And y'all, I am feeling excited. I'm excited about all the possibilities and opportunities that I have coming up. I've got a book signing this coming Saturday, August 23rd at Nubian Bookstore in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm really excited about that. I'll be there next month as well on September 20th, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. both days. I'm working on a new book, Justice for All 2, a Black Lives Matter novel, which is a continuation of the novel that I wrote in 2021. This one features two stories, one that's based on George Floyd and the other one that's based on Breonna Taylor. So hopefully you guys support that as much as you do everything else when it comes to my literary career. I've got the second podcast dropping next weekend. Plus, I'm preparing for a career shift and, picking up the pieces in some areas of my personal life and love life and all of that. So I'm just overall grateful. Like, I'm ready to conquer everything in my path. It's going to be so much to celebrate and pop bottles for, y'all. I can't wait. Now, speaking of popping bottles, what y'all sipping on? Now, tonight I'm sipping on a nice little mixed concoction. It consists of 3 shots of peach vodka, some passion fruit punch, pineapple juice, and a splash of grenadine. Now, if you don't want it as strong, use 2 shots of vodka instead of three. Oh, and then you might want to put like a half a shot of tequila in that thing. I'm just saying. I call it TKO because it's going to knock you on your ass. Okay. Like the judge did the defendant in this case, or should I say defendants. Baby, let's get into it. Y'all, this week's episode, ooh, this woman, ooh, she was just a pain in the ass. Like, might as well be a hemorrhoid, okay? Now, for my snack, I got some double fudge white chocolate cookies that I made. I had to hide them from these little greedy ass broke best friends that I call my children because they are that good. But I'm good to go. So, y'all good to go? Y'all ready to ride? Y'all hop on in. Buckle up, baby. I'ma tell you, you gonna need at least a half a tank of gas for this one, okay? We gonna take a ride back to 2023 in Calvert, Alabama, and then we gonna take a trip to Pensacola, Florida for a little bit too. So I hope y'all got y'all drinks ready, y'all got y'all snacks ready. Do you? All right, y'all. Y'all know what time it is. Let's get it. This week's case involves Brooklyn Sims, victim, Sission Parnell, surviving victim, Sheila Agee, Keith's mother and accomplice, and the infamous murderer of the week, Keith Agee. Sheila Annette Rivers was born April 9th, 1973, to Thelma and Jack Rivers in Calvert, Alabama. She was born biracial as her mother Thelma is Caucasian and her father Jack is black. That's funny to me, Jack Black. I don't know why that made me think of that. But anyway, she grew up in the average family with her siblings. She attended McIntosh High School. I didn't dig too deep into her childhood years because I was more so focused on the person that actually committed the crime. But she definitely played a role in some shit, okay? But as she got older, she graduated high school and met her first baby daddy, and she gave birth to two sons, Wallace Schaefer in 1988 and Jack Daniel Schaefer, November 22nd, 1992. Lord, she named this baby Jack Daniel. Whew, the ghetto, if that ain't some nigga shit there. Mm. Anywho, so she had Jack Daniel Schaefer and Wallace Schaefer from that relationship. Now, she does go on to end up meeting Keith Agee, and they get married, and she becomes Sheila Annette Agee. Once they're married, she gives birth to another son January 6th, 2003, Keith Agee, and her daughter January 19th, 2009, Kaya Cheyenne Agee. Now she had her children and she was happily married, she was doing her thing, especially since her mama Thelma was raising all them damn kids. Now, literally, she raised every single child that Sheila had. Okay. As they got older, Jack, he joined the service and he ended up moving away, but he came back and he actually lived in a trailer behind Thelma's house. And a lot of times Sheila would live with her mother or they lived on the same property. Now, like I said, all of the kids kind of lived there at one point. Wallace, he moved to Mobile, Alabama, so he didn't really see the family like that. But Sheila was free to do whatever she wanted. Now, eventually, she got a divorce from Keith, and she kind of had to face reality that she was a single mother. But honestly, I don't think you could really say she was a single mother because, again, she had her mom there to help her out. And it was okay for the most part. She was handling it, even though she had given birth to the devil spawn, also known as her son, Keith. Keith Eric Agee was born January 6, 2003, to Sheila and Keith Agee, also in Calvert, Alabama. He had two older brothers and one younger sister that he adored. Too bad he didn't have the same relationship with his mama. He and his pops had a really cool relationship, and for a few years after the divorce, he actually lived with his father. But then, y'all, he threatened to kill his father and stepmother, and they ended up getting a restraining order on him. Like, damn. Oh, and then when he was 14, there was a shooting, and it was found that he had a gun on him and that he was involved. When it came to him and Sheila, they were kinda, like, up and down, like, Sheila may have looked like the perfect mama, but she used to talk to her kids any old kinda way, like, I'm talking about downright disrespectful and demeaning, calling them names, all kinda stuff. Mother Teresa, she was not, and from what I read in some articles, as well as some of the posts on her social media, it looks like more than one of her sons, didn't fuck with her, like, I can't blame them because she would make these statuses where she talked about, "Oh, has anybody heard from my son?" And, "Oh, they don't call they mama." And I'm like, "I bet they don't, you fucking wacko." But it looked like basically her kids was running the fuck out of her. That quote that I read at the beginning of the episode on Facebook where it said, "Oh, my baby boy is a young man now and amazes me more and more every day as he protects and takes care of his little sister, not to mention keeps me in line, proud of you and love you." That was on, I guess you could say, one of their up moments because literally they were combative like every other day, and like I said, she talked so much shit to him. Like that can damage a child's mental. And they end up doing the same shit that you did, and the cycle continues. But, I guess you could say she did the best she could. Like, it wasn't all bad. There were times where she would shout them out on social media, talking about how much she loved them and all of that. And Then there were times where he would do the same. They would be in pictures together, posing and smiling and cheesing and all of that. They were a very beautiful family. I will not take that from them. Okay. Once Keith got older, he went to go live with his grandmother, Thelma. In a way, it was a good thing that he wasn't close to his mother because Keith was known for having anger issues, like always popping off and always getting into some shit since he was a kid. One of those, like, he kinda strikes me as one of those type of dudes that just done some does some dumb stuff and then always gotta apologize for it later, and, I mean, that can only get you but so far in life. Like, he would do something bad or threaten some people and threaten to kill them, and then when he got checked on it, he would just literally disappear from his grandmother's house for, like, 3 and 4 days at a time, and then just come back and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and all would be forgiven. But, despite his negative aspects, he was a bit of a charmer. And it was understandable because if you saw him, a homie was a little looker. Okay. He looked like he could blend in with the DeBarges or some shit, like that whole fucking family did. He had the pretty hair, he was tall and handsome, the pretty skin, all of that. Hell, his mama looked like she kind of reminded me of one of them Govan sisters from Basketball Wives, the one that was supposed to marry Matt and didn't. Like the younger pictures of her reminded me of her. Now, when you see the pictures of her now, you'll see what I mean. But they were all very, very beautiful. And like I said, he was very charming. The girls couldn't get enough of him, and he damn sure couldn't get enough of them girls. Like he was a little man whore. Okay. But he kind of slowed it down a bit in 2020 when he met Brooklyn. Brooklyn Taylor Dior Sims was born January 25th, 2005 to Cornelia Sims in Pritchard, Alabama. I couldn't find any information on her father, unfortunately, so I can only assume he wasn't involved in her life. And I stress the word assume because listen, I mind the business that pays me and I don't get in no shit. Okay. But she did have a loving family. She had two brothers, Breland Carter and Anthony Brock, and she was a beautiful young lady and thick. Okay, like I'm talking thicker than peanut butter with a pretty smile. Like I could see why her family said that she would light up any room that she entered. And when Keith saw her, he was drawn to her, like thick thighs, fat ass, all of that. Now she was only 15 years old when she met him, and Keith was 17, but the two were really feeling each other, and they were hot and heavy in their little teenage love affair. He was constantly driving to Alabama to spend time with her. If you saw him, you saw her. If you saw her, you saw him. She was very much my man, my man, my man. And he was very possessive. But it didn't take long for his dark side to show and for Brooklyn to experience it firsthand. Like, especially when she came to him and told him that she was pregnant. And this wasn't too long after they started gigging it. And that was not something that he was expecting to hear. So immediately, Keith started to deny the baby and he began curving the shit out of Brooklyn. Like, he became so disrespectful to her. He comes over to Brooklyn's house and starts popping off and ends up busting out the windows to her mama's house, y'all. Baby, Cornelia called them cops on that ass so fast, and just like his father and stepmother did, she got a restraining order too. Cornelia told Brooklyn, his ass can't come back over here. Okay. But, he acted like it was no big deal. And he completely ended things and went on with his life like it was nothing. Like, fuck the fact that he got his girl pregnant. I'ma just go do me. And he started fucking with other girls. But, Brooklyn had her village with her to support her. And eventually, Keith started to come around. And he and Brooklyn worked it out and they got back together. And on October 15th, 2021, Brooklyn gave birth to Casey Brooke Sims. Notice her last name was Sims and not AG because Keith constantly denied that child. He was always telling Brooklyn that Casey was somebody else's baby and that he couldn't have knocked her up. Like this motherfucker just did not know how sex worked or something. And so, you know, Brooklyn took on the role as Mother Easy, and she and her family, helped in raising Casey. And even though Keith denied their child, Sheila was right there to be a grandmother to, the beautiful baby. She treated Brooklyn like she was another one of her children and would help her with babysitting or money or, whatever she needed. She even helped her get a job where she worked. And for Brooklyn, she was grateful because she's a young teen mom taking care of a child. Now, while Keith was going back and forth with Brooklyn, he was also fucking with other women. He would use his charm and looks to get whatever woman that he wanted, but he would still slide back to Brooklyn too. Mainly when he fucked up, of course. So there was one instance in April of 22 that Keith was charged with third degree domestic violence. Why do you ask? The chick that he was dating at the time had to call 911 because Keith showed up to her job mad as hell over some shit that she didn't even do and pulled a Jasmine Sullivan. Y'all, he busted the windows out her car, beat her, and then threatened to shoot her mother if she told. Luckily, her mother didn't die because she damn sure went to the cops with that shit. But, like all in all, that's just some scary shit. And by the grace of God for him, the charges get dropped. Now, you would think that he would learn his lesson from that, but oh no, because in February of 23, he was charged with not one, not two, but three counts of third degree domestic violence again. And again, he got lucky because the charges get dropped. Clearly, he need to stay his ass, and sit down somewhere. Each time that he would get in trouble, he would slide back to Brooklyn and, worm his little ass back up in her graces and, oh, baby, I'm sorry. The mother hoes don't mean nothing to me. They lying on me. I ain't do all of that shit. And Brooklyn, she knew that nigga wasn't shit. She knew his ass was lying, but she loved him. Hell, this was the only man she knew. This was the only man she had been with. This was the only man she loved. Like, this was her baby daddy. But she had reached her breaking point too. So Brooklyn and Keith were going through the merry-go-round of emotions, and every time Brooklyn turned around, Keith was on that bullshit. And it got to the point that Brooklyn went and got a restraining order against Keith, keeping him from being around her. But one thing I feel he had the advantage on is that he knew she would eventually come around because they had a kid together. She sees him a lot because her baby spends a lot of time with his mother. And, in that time, Keith is doing his thing, but he still can't leave Brooklyn alone. So in like late July, early August of 23, he hits up Brooklyn on the phone. Hey, baby, I was thinking about you. Why don't you come through? And they link up and they spend the weekend together. And, everything is cute for a minute. They fucking and all of that. But y'all know shit don't stay cute forever. Because out of nowhere, he starts thinking that Brooklyn is cheating on him. And Brooklyn is like, boy, what the hell is wrong with you? And they start arguing and stop fucking with each other again for like the 50th time. So Keith goes back to Alabama and Brooklyn is back in Florida working. Now, like I said, Sheila had gotten her a job working at the Home Depot in Escambia County. Now, when Brooklyn went in school, she was working to provide for her and her child. And clearly, Keith is out there doing his own thing. Now, Brooklyn, I guess she's just fed up because she's tired of the back and forth with this man. Like, she's 18 years old. He's about to be 21 and, acting like he's fucking 12. Not to mention, he's out there doing some serious dirt because on August 11th, 2023, he gets a phone call that fucks his ass up. A couple of days prior, he had gone to the Greater Mobile Urgent Care because he had noticed that, he was having a little bit of problem when he went to the bathroom. Basically, his dick was burning whenever he peed. So, with men, they typically will find out a lot faster than women when they have an STD. Unfortunately, with a woman's anatomy, she can have it for a while before she realizes it. This is why I strongly encourage ladies to get tested every 6 months or so, especially if you have a new partner. Even if you have the same partner, hell, you can't put nothing past nobody these days. But, after fucking, I guess he realized, hey, my dick is burning when I pee. So he goes to the urgent care. And on August 11th, 2023, the doctor at that same urgent care calls him and tells him, Mr. AG, I'm sorry to inform you, but you have gonorrhea. Oh, he was not thinking he was going to hear that. Like, the fuck you just say? And they confirm it. Yes, sir. You heard right. You've been diagnosed with gonorrhea. And so they prescribe him some antibiotics that he has to take so that his dick is no longer on fire. But at this point, he's enraged. And all of that rage is directed at one person, Brooklyn. Man, can't believe this bitch gave me a STD. I knew she was out here hoeing around. She talking about she ain't fucking nobody else, but this bitch just gave me something. Fucking knew it. But instead of calling her and talking to her about it, or, possibly contacting all the other bitches that he's been fucking, he texts his mama Sheila. Now, here's the fucked up thing. On August 5th, like a whole week before he gets that phone call, Brooklyn had actually sent a picture of her test results from a doctor's appointment showing that she didn't have an STD. But I'm assuming he knew nothing about that or just didn't believe it. And now, like I said, him and his mom, they got this love hate relationship. And she definitely did not hold back on her thoughts towards him. Like she told him exactly how she felt, but she never showed him them fucking results. So Keith sends her a text message about what happened. Now, the stuff that I'm reading are direct text messages between Keith and his mama Sheila. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, this is going to make your IQ drop quite a few points. The messages started at 10:37 that morning while Keith was at work, and they lasted up until about 40 minutes before everything went dark. Keith, she ain't do nothing but cost me money and gave me a STD. I'm finna shoot her. I know I hate that for Casey, but like I said, I can't take it. I don't give a fuck no more. Sheila, okay, I'll call you and tell you, motherfucker, if you want to go to jail. I'll tell you when we get close. But if you don't come kill her, you a motherfucking bitch. Don't call Nanny and tell her. She'll try and talk you out of it. Don't shoot at my motherfucking car. I don't want to die. Keith, I'm gonna just shoot her. I know I hate that for my daughter, but like I said, I can't take it. I don't give a fuck no more. Keith, I won't. Sheila, wait till I put her out. Keith, I was gonna wait till she got out, but that's another thing. If she don't get out the car, mama, and I have to drag her out or can't, I'ma ask you to step out because I'ma open the door and just shoot her. Sheila, as long as you don't shoot me, hell, if you getting off work now, I'll give you the address here and you can ride over here and do it so you don't have to do it in front of Casey. Sheila, you don't give a fuck about that baby. I'll give you the address when I get back. And you ain't doing nothing, showing nobody nothing, except you got mental issues because you willing to give up your life and your baby daughter's life and hurt your family's life over a bitch. But don't worry, I'll make sure she know Brooklyn gave you something that you had to get a shot for, but that you didn't love her enough to give a fuck about what happened to her, that she wasn't enough for you. Keith, send it to me. Sheila, we just in Pensacola. Keith, I'm on the way, send it. Sheila, hold up, let me get it. Erase the text because I don't want nobody to know I was texting your stupid ass. Keith, I already deleted mine, trust. I ain't gonna say shit about us even talking today. Keith, what's the address? Sheila, I can't wait to get back to that store to give you the address because you're gonna have to shoot me today. I done told you about cussing me. Keith, all I want is that address, mama. I'm done talking. I done talked enough. I know what's gonna happen and I'm okay with that. I done already been thinking it through and this the only way for me. I don't know why you so quick to start shit with me, but again, must be scared of Brooklyn or something. I don't know. Keith, she gonna be on the floor, right? Sheila, waiting on you. Keith, I'm saying I'm gonna have to find her in the back or something. Sheila, nope. Keith, stay out my way. Sheila, I am. Keith, laughing out loud, man, get off my phone. All I needed was that address. Leave me alone. Finish your work day. And you is too. I forgot. Just me. Keith. So that last thought of her knowing she fucked and the regret in her face will be enough to satisfy me. I don't give a fuck what she see when she dead. Yes, the fuck she do. How the fuck I'ma pick her up when your sorry ass trying to go gamble or hang in Jackson and she don't pick up the phone? Nah, that ain't even gonna fly. She'll just die before I let that continue. Sheila. Okay, whatever. I don't care what you do. I don't give a fuck because I'm going home today, not to hell or to jail. Keith. Good for you. Sheila. Okay, then stop texting me. I'm working. Do whatever you want to do. It don't affect me either fucking way. At 11:55 a.m., Sheila sends the address and Keith decides to leave work and go home. Did y'all hear the shit that I just read? That's how they fucking talk to each other. Ugh. Now, he works about maybe a minute and a half's drive away from where he lives with his grandmother, Thelma. He had been working at AM&S as a steel operator and had been there for a couple of months and was doing pretty good until his black ass decided to leave early that day. So he drives home and he gets there in like a minute flat. He leaves his car running, runs inside, and goes straight to his room. Doesn't even speak to his grandmother, nothing. He runs inside, grabs his 9mm handgun, runs back out, and decides that he's going to drive his happy ass 2 hours from Calvert, Alabama to Pensacola, Florida, where Sheila and Brooklyn were at work. Now, Sheila was the supervisor of WIS International, and Brooklyn and several other employees were contracted for inventory at Home Depot. So they would go in at like 5 in the morning and work until maybe 2 in the afternoon. So only a few hours left on their shift. Now, mind you, Sheila already knows that Keith is coming. And instead of warning Brooklyn or calling the cops, seeing as how, she was telling him that he was stupid for ruining his life and everything, she just goes on about work like everything is cool. So Keith drives from Calvert, Alabama to Pensacola, Florida. And on the way, he does make a stop in Loxley, Alabama. And he's thinking, like, yo, do I really want to do this? And I guess the devil and the angel were arguing. The angel was like, no, don't do it. And the devil was like, fuck it. But baby, the devil won because he decided, all right, I'm going to go ahead and just go. So he gets to the Home Depot, and normally it's a 2 hour drive, but because he was so pissed off, he gets there in like an hour and a half. And when he pulls up, ironically, he parks next to his mama's black SUV. So he goes inside and he just starts randomly walking through the aisles looking for Brooklyn. He's walking through the aisles and walking through the aisles, and he sees Brooklyn in aisle 52 in the lighting aisle counting boxes. Now, he doesn't see his mama, which is good for him because she would probably call him some more names. So he comes up to Brooklyn, and Brooklyn's confused. She's confused because she's like, what you doing here? And he was just like, yo, I got to talk to you about something. And she was like, okay, what's up? And he points at her and he says, you gave me something. And Brooklyn is done at this point. She's like, oh God, not this again. And she turns to walk off. And of course, this only pissed him off more because she turned her back to him. And all he's thinking about is this bitch gave me an STD. She gave me gonorrhea. So before Brooklyn knew what was happening or could even react, Keith pulls a gun out of his waistband and shoots her in the back of the head twice, and then proceeded to shoot 5 more times. Now, I don't know if it was because of where they were or what, but the bullets actually ricocheted. Like even after he killed her, he kept firing, and the bullets were entering and exiting her body from different angles. But one of the bullets ended up grazing her friend and coworker, Sission Parnell. Yo, I struggle with that name so bad because it's spelled Xiaxang. When I saw that shit, I was like, what the fuck? But thank God, watching one of the audio clips or whatever, I heard them say Sission Parnell. I was like, oh, that's how she say that shit. Okay. But anyway, Sission was grazed in the hand, and another employee was grazed in the back. There were a total of 29 holes that were riddled into Brooklyn's body. And once Keith finished firing off, he didn't even wait for Brooklyn's body to drop. He just took off. Sheila was in there and she ain't saying a damn thing. Employees and customers, they're running everywhere. Folks is getting snatched and pulled. Sission, she got pulled somewhere. Another employee gets pulled into the bathroom. Everybody's hiding. And he gone. He runs out of the store, and he hops in his car, kirks up out the parking lot hella fast, damn near hitting somebody in the process. And he's driving and it hits him like, yo, what the fuck did I just do? So while he's driving, he throws the gun out the window and pulls up into this movie theater parking lot. And he just gets out and he starts wandering through the woods, through a creek, and then goes into a mellow mushroom on Bayou Boulevard. And he goes inside and he calls 911. And he tells the dispatcher, I just shot somebody. And, dispatch is trying to figure out what's going on. And he confesses and he's crying and he's like, I just shot and killed my daughter's mom. I'm sorry. I got to call y'all before I do something stupid. Before? Okay. So the cops get there. They got their guns drawn. They're pretty much ready to take this nigga down. He comes outside and they have him walk backwards to their squad car and get him on the ground. And at this point, he's shirtless. Why? I don't know. But they get him and they arrest him and they take him to Escambia County Jail. They go back and they find the gun on the side of the road where he told them that he threw it. Meanwhile, Sheila's ass is at work and all the employees and customers that are in the store, they're bunkered down, they're hiding and everything. They get rescued, and Sheila goes back home like it's any other day. Now, mind you, Sheila and Cornelia, who's Brooklyn's mom, they were cool. Like they talked a lot because of baby Casey. Both of them were there for Brooklyn and Casey, even when she wasn't with Keith, because they loved the girls. So Cornelia gets this phone call from the Pensacola Police Department telling her, hey, we're sorry to inform you, but your daughter Brooklyn is dead. When they arrived to the Home Depot, Brooklyn had been pronounced dead and they took her body for the autopsy. Her family is, devastated at this point, and media is coming around talking to them. Her brother, Breland Carter, he tells them, her personality, the way she can make you laugh, she could light up the whole room. And he tells them, I feel like I let my little sister down. Like I couldn't protect my sister. It's crazy because tomorrow's my birthday. It's a lot to deal with. He took the chance away from my niece to know her mother and know how amazing of a person she was. Brooklyn's family and friends decided to get together, and on Monday, August 13th, 2023, they held a balloon release for Brooklyn. And they released pink and purple balloons, which were her favorite colors. And I'm noticing, on a side note, I'm noticing that a lot of these balloon releases, they're releasing pink and purple. Like I know purple is for domestic violence and everything, but I remember the case with the girl that was stabbed um, at the high school by her friend for snitching on her or whatever to her man. They released pink and purple balloons there. Like I'm just noticing that happens to be like a lot of girls' favorite colors. I don't know, random fact. Sorry. Anyway, but guess who shows up to the balloon release? Sheila's ass. She was there hugging Casey and hugging their family, knowing all along that her ass helped her son basically come to Pensacola to kill his baby mama. And Breland definitely had something to say because there was like, this history with his sister and Keith. And, he knew that his sister and Keith had been going back and forth, and there was a lot of, violence. Her friend Sission told the news the first time he did it, it wasn't okay. I mean, I wish, maybe he could have gotten help. Now it's just senseless. And Brooklyn's brother Breland was like, listen, when it first happened, I was aware. And then there was a hiatus. She took him to court, did what she had to do. Then somehow this ended up being the result. How he was out to do something like this, I don't know. In my opinion, it was if I can't have you, no one can have you. The last time I talked to her, she just wanted to be a good mother. She was looking to start a job and get an apartment. And that was, very much true. She was trying to do the best she could to co parent with Keith, but it wasn't enough for him. But I'm more so concerned at the fact that this woman, his mother, showed up to the balloon release like she didn't do a damn thing. So while she's at the balloon release, the Escambia County Sheriff's Office has Keith in their custody and they're going through his phone. And they get to the text messages and they look and they see that Sheila and Keith were doing a whole lot of communication and that they were texting and talking about killing this girl, and that Sheila was very well aware of what the hell Keith had planned to do because she gave him the address and told him, you know, that if he didn't do it, he was a little biz naive. You know what I'm saying? So they were like, oh, hell no. They had Washington County, Alabama go and arrest Sheila shortly after the balloon release. So the police show up and all of Brooklyn's family is just surprised, because they're like, wait, what the hell did you do? You helped your son? You knew your son was going to come shoot Brooklyn and you did nothing about it? The fuck? So at this point, Sheila's 50-year-old ass gets arrested and extradited to Escambia County. So the results from the autopsy come back for Brooklyn, and lo and behold, it's found that Brooklyn did not have an STD. Now, if y'all remember, I told y'all that she had shown Sheila a text message with photos that she had sent her proving that she didn't have an STD. So, for lack of better words, Keith killed her for absolutely no reason. And this is where I start to think.
No, you done fucked up, right? No, 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 no. You know you done fucked up, right?
Like, you basically went into this store after your mom gave you the directions or address or whatever and shot this woman. You put 29 bullet holes in her body. Granted, yes, you only shot 7 times, but you put 29 bullet holes in her body and ultimately killed her because you blamed her for having an STD that she didn't even give you. Your black ass was out there fucking around with other bitches and somebody else gave it to you. Perhaps you should invest in a condom, you nasty motherfucker. But we gonna get into that later during Fair or Foul. Don't worry. So now they got both of their asses in custody, and it's time to say goodbye to Brooklyn. Her family holds a funeral for her, and she is laid to rest on August 26, 2023, at Triumph Church Ministries, where her funeral is held. And now it's time for Keith and Sheila to get ready for trial. So, of course, Keith couldn't afford an attorney, and he ends up getting a public defender, Gregory Wise. And December 19th, 2023, his trial begins. Bridget Jensen was the prosecutor for the state of Florida, and it was pretty much like a quick trial, like probably the fastest I have ever seen. Like, it really didn't last long at all. Judge Coleman Robinson was over the case. Keith didn't really deny anything, like he was honest about him killing Brooklyn. But one thing I will say though is that he basically tried to make it seem like it was, him that did it and that his mom Sheila didn't have anything to do with it at all. Like he was actually protecting this bitch. So literally, it was kind of like open and shut because the next day, December 20th, the jury is excused. And less than 20 minutes later, these motherfuckers went in there, had a sip of soda, sat down, took a selfie. They came back with their conviction. Keith Eric Agee is found guilty of first-degree murder. So the judge decides to go ahead and sentence Keith and, not waste any time because what the fuck for at this point. But before he does that, he gives Keith the opportunity to speak. Psst. Hey, Raleigh, North Carolina. Are you in the market for a new vehicle? Look no further than Southern State Hyundai of Raleigh. Located at 2511 Wake Forest Road, they have a fantastic selection of the latest Hyundai models just waiting for you. Their dedicated team is available to provide you with top notch service and unbeatable deals. And don't forget, ask for Tony McLaughlin. He's ready to help you find the perfect car for your needs. Visit Southern State Hyundai of Raleigh today, where quality meets affordability. That's Southern State Hyundai of Raleigh, located at 2511 Wake Forest Road. And tell them the infamous one sent you. Keith stands up and says, I would like to apologize to the family. I can't ask for forgiveness. I can't ask not to hate me. I just want her mother to know that through our past relationship and things that have happened, I'm grateful to have had Brooklyn in my life. The things she has done for me has not went without consideration in my heart. I think about Brooklyn every night. Every night before I go to sleep, I pray for Casey in Brooklyn. Regret is an understatement. If I can reverse the roles, I would take Brooklyn's place. I have to live with this decision for the rest of my life, and I've accepted that. I just hate the fact that her family has to go through this. I got my thoughts on that, but I'm gonna wait until Fair or Foul. But I will say, boy, fuck you. Talking about some, oh, if I could trade places, I would. And you should, because you are in a capital punishment state. But anyway, after Keith says what he has to say, the judge lets the victim's family speak, and Cornelia Sims, Brooklyn's mother, gets up and says exactly what's on her mind. August 11th changed my life. I lost my daughter. Her siblings lost her sister. She was an auntie. She was a friend. She was an amazing child. She didn't deserve this. I don't hate Mr. Agee, but I can't forgive him. I'm raising his daughter. That day, Casey lost a mother, a father, and a grandmother. On December 20th, 2023, Keith Eric Agee was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. After the sentencing, he appealed the conviction and sentence, of course. I couldn't find anything on the appeal, but I know that he did appeal it. Considering his ass is still in there, I'm guessing that he pretty much lost. Now, Keith's trial was in December of 2023. Sheila's trial was scheduled for the following year. Now, Sheila didn't get charged with murder. She was charged with principal to first degree murder. So, for those that are unaware, principal to first degree murder basically means that there was some type of act that resulted in the victim's death. The act has to be premeditated or intentional, meaning that it was planned before the actual killing. So, in this instance, because she sent those text messages to Keith leading him to Brooklyn, she was charged with principal to first degree murder as well as first degree premeditated murder. So she had been sitting in the Escambia County Jail for over a year, but she goes to trial in November of 2024. She has the same prosecutor, Bridget Jensen, and she has her attorney, Christopher Raby. And of course, they had the same judge, Coleman Robinson, that oversaw Keith's trial. Now, like I said, pretty much the same people from Keith's trial were involved, right down to the witnesses. And, Sheila's a little scared, rightfully so, because, bitch, your ass about to fry. Keith is brought in to testify against her because her whole thing was that she didn't actually intend for Brooklyn to be killed. So the prosecution brought other witnesses to the stand outside of Keith, like Sissy Parnell, who was, one of the victims that had been shot in Brooklyn's friend. They also brought Tiana Thomas and a few others that were working in aisle 52 that day. They go through the entire trial and everything. And on November 20th, 2024, the jury is dismissed to deliberate. Now, it was pretty much the same type of vibe as Keith's trial. But when the jury goes off to deliberate, some of the jurors kind of like get into it with this one juror named Sally Sue Smith. I'm serious, y'all. That is her name. I can't make this shit up if I tried. Her name is Sally Sue Smith. Jesus Devontae Christ. So they get to arguing and things get a little intense. And because of that, one of the jurors goes to the judge and she was just like, listen, I don't feel safe. I'm concerned about the safety for not only myself, but the rest of the jurors because they're back here arguing and it's getting to the point where we may need an alternate. Now, unfortunately, that's not allowed under the Florida law, but the juror is telling the judge about how all of a sudden Sally Sue is making these racial comments. So, it's getting kind of scary and it made them feel, fearful of their lives. And so the judge is trying to figure out were the racial comments made towards Sheila or was it made towards another juror? And Sheila's attorney takes this opportunity to take full advantage to get his client the fuck up out of there. He was like, aha, perfect. This is the way to get a mistrial. And he did just that. Christopher Raby files for a mistrial on the grounds that the jurors that were fearing for their safety and possible racial bias would prevent Sheila from receiving a fair trial. He tells the judge, I'm concerned it would not be a fair and just verdict for my client. So the judge actually declares a mistrial. And Sheila's like, Sheila really got a damn mistrial, y'all. Whew. But the drama didn't stop there. So the judge goes off on Sally Sue Smith, the one that was, causing all the drama, but not for what you think. See, Sally Sue was doing a crossword puzzle during the trial the day before. And then the day that they were excused to deliberate, he told her, put the crossword puzzle away. So the next day when they come back and, they're going through the trial again and they're excused to deliberate, she got another fucking crossword puzzle. And, she tried to say that it helped her focus, and she was like, "Listen, it was me. I didn't know it was a bad thing. I do that when I concentrate and I'm listening. You couldn't see the bench or witness very well because it was dark, but I could hear it. That's just the way I do. I just do that, and I had no idea. And then when they told me I wasn't supposed to do it, I stopped. And then today, when I went into the jury room, I had another crossword puzzle. Like it just mysteriously fucking jumped in her hand." Okay. That's just that's just some weird shit. I'm sorry. But, she went on to say, we were retired to the jury room and started to deliberate. It became obvious to me right away that I was in the minority of one versus 11 other people. At first, it started out reasonable, a lot of shouting, and I can shout too. I do have a loud voice, but I was being shouted down by a lot of people. It sounds like she couldn't take it. But, after the judge declared a mistrial, they rescheduled the new trial date for February 5th, 2025. Now, don't get it twisted. She got that mistrial, but that didn't mean she got to go home or anything. She didn't get no bond, nothing like that. Her ass still had to sit in jail and wait for a new trial date. Now, it was initially supposed to be February 5th, 2025, but it kept getting pushed back month after month after month. Finally, August 5th, 2025, Sheila Ajee gets her new trial. And of course, there's a completely new jury because, yeah, they ain't doing that shit again. Sheila had a different defense attorney. This time she had David Ackerman, who, was really trying to be slick through the whole situation. But, okay. He told the jury that, the state had no evidence to show that Sheila was complicit in the murder and that the text messages that they had exchanged were just how Sheila and Keith communicated on a regular. Now, this was also a fairly quick trial. It was a 2-day trial in which her son was brought forward to testify again. And in the opening statements, the prosecution, Alvin Myers and Jeanette Brinson, talked about how, basically Sheila encouraged Keith to kill Brooklyn. They brought up the text messages. They brought up the fact that, he had been diagnosed with an STD that Brooklyn did not, in fact, give him. Now, the one thing that I noticed was on August 6th, the second day of the trial, when Sheila gets on the stand, she is very combative, like downright argumentative. She was like, yeah, I text him that he was a bitch and all of that, but that was my way of calming him down. I'm sorry, say what? Are you serious? She tells the prosecution, I didn't know what he was capable of murder. Like, she's talking about how, the messages were misconstrued and it was seen in the wrong light. So the prosecution had about 16 different witnesses in a matter of 2 days, mostly from Keith's trial. They brought up Matt Pike, who was the custodian of records for the sheriff's office. He was the one that was responsible for maintaining the 911 call records and all of that. They brought up the 911 dispatcher who took the call with Keith. They brought up this girl named Cortland, who was one of the inventory girls that was working with Brooklyn that day on aisle 52. They brought up Tiana Thomas, who was another witness. Brittany Bishop was brought up. She was the crime scene tech. They brought up a lot of the employees from the movie theaters and whatnot that were there during the afternoon. But the thing that they really harped on were them text messages. And I guess Sheila had to hear shit out loud from someone else because now all of a sudden she's apologetic and she's apologizing to Cornelia and all of Brooklyn's family. And she tells them, I failed a lot of people. I failed Brooklyn. I failed my grandbaby. All of that. But you know what is funny? She never said I failed my son. Mm. Now, the prosecution also brings Sheila's son, Jack Daniels. Oh God, I'm sorry. They bring Jack Daniels to the stand and he talks about how, he lived with his grandmother and everything and his military upbringing and the time that, he gave serving our country. But he also talked about how there were so many times that he had to discipline Keith because, their grandmother couldn't do it. And Sheila and Keith were bumping heads all the time. Like there was absolutely no kind of structure. And Keith's father was damn near afraid of him. So, I mean, hey, what can you do? So the jury gets excused to deliberate, and it took them about 2 hours and 45 minutes to reach a decision. They come back to the courtroom and they find that Sheila Annette Ajee is guilty of first degree murder, first degree principal premeditated murder. So she gets sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, just like her little badass son. Now, before she got sentenced, they let the victim's family speak again for their impact statement. And once again, Cornelia got up and she talked about Brooklyn. And she said, the dictionary defines a woman as one who has given birth to a child, providing an egg for a child, or who has legally adopted a child. My definition of a mother is a selfless, loving human who often sacrifices as many of her own wants and needs for those needs of her children. A mother makes sure that her children are equipped with knowledge, skills, and the abilities to make it as a competent human being. It has been 1 year, 11 months, and 25 days since my daughter Brooklyn Taylor Dior Sims was tragically taken from me. I miss my daughter. Casey lost her mother. Casey lost her daddy. Casey lost her other grandmother. But I say, my grandmother My granddaughter, does not understand, and I don't know if she ever will, what happened on August 11th, 2023. When I say this, I'll never be the same. I try to go on for Casey's sake, but it'll never be the same. I want to thank you, Trey, Ms. Brenton, thank the jurors, and today, justice for Brooklyn Taylor Sims has been served. Looking for a book that resonates with your soul? Well, look no further than Author K, a master ghostwriter, storyteller, and author who weaves tales across multiple genres, from heartwarming romance to gripping urban horror. Whether you're searching for a contemporary romance that sweeps you off your feet or street lit that reflects the realities of life, Kay's writing speaks to the heart of every reader. Her work also passionately highlights the Black Lives Matter movement, bridging narratives that matter. Dive into the journey of discovery, empowerment, romance, and connection through Kay's incredible reads. Visit www.mizk.com today and dive into a world of unforgettable tales. That's www.mzkaye.com. Your next favorite book is just a click away. Now, as of right now, it does not show where Sheila is incarcerated because she literally was just sentenced like 2 weeks ago. Pretty much the whole time that she was waiting on her trial, she was at the Escambia County Jail. But I'm sure once she's moved within the system, it'll show. It does take up to 30 days to be updated within the federal system, but wherever she goes, it's probably gonna be in Florida and she's gonna be there for the rest of her life. As for Keith, he is at the Century Correctional Institute in Century, Florida, where I'm sure his little pretty ass is getting bent over every night. Cornelia is raising their grandbaby, or her grandbaby rather, and Casey is now 4 years old, or I think she's about to be 4 years old actually, and she's so pretty and so sweet. Like I was looking at the pictures of her, she is adorable. Keith's father and Sheila's ex-husband, Keith Sr., well, once he found out about his son and ex-wife killing Brooklyn, he came and got his daughter from her grandmother Thelma, and she lives with him now full time. Like I went to his social media to kind of be nosy a little bit, and Kaya seems to be flourishing. He's got her and he's got his other kid all over his page, his wife. I had to look at that little girl and Lord knows Sheila didn't have a fight at all because Keith and his sister both looked like a light skinned version of their daddy. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of Keith and Sheila Agee, the mother and son duo of death. And now it is time for Fair or Foul, where we look at the justice system to determine if the sentencing was indeed fair or if it was just some shit that's gonna have us sitting back saying, what the fuck? With Keith receiving life in prison, absolutely fair. I really wish that they could have given him the death sentence. Like I told y'all, Florida is a capital punishment state. Guess what? Punish that ass in all capitals, okay? Fuck him. In all caps. I really wish that they could have gave him that $42 cocktail or fry his ass, whatever. Punish his ass, okay? Yes, life in prison without parole is great. Not saying that that is not, suffice, but really wish they could have pushed that shit just a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Like you stupid motherfucker. You sat there and killed this girl because you felt like she gave you an STD. But really, it was on you because you were out there fucking so many bitches raw that you didn't know who gave it to you, but you automatically assumed that it was her. I can't stand motherfuckers like that. I can't stand to see a nigga go out there and do dirt, know that he doing dirt, and then try to blame it on the chick. Like at the end of the day, you fucked around and was out here fucking raw. You knew what you was doing when you was sticking your dick in all these other bitches without a condom. And then for you to go and try to blame that shit on her. I've actually had that shit happen to me before where a nigga tried to blame me for some shit. And I'm the type of bitch that stays healthy and stays clocking her body. The slightest anything that's off, and I'm going to the doctor. So when I busted his ass with them fucking STD results and was like, boom, bitch, nothing. He ain't have shit to say and was stuttering and stammering like fucking Porky Pig and shit. Got that ass on up out of there. I can't stand to see a nigga that try to blame a chick for some shit that he was doing. And that's exactly what the fuck you did, Keith. You knew that she didn't have that shit. And hell, you must have confronted her about this prior, and I'm assuming it was around the time that you went and got tested, because for her to send your mother a screenshot of her test results showing that she was STD free, and for her to specifically say to you, "Not this again," when you confronted her at the Home Depot, that tells me that this was something that you had come up to her with previously. This was something that you had asked her about before. You knew that she didn't give you that damn STD. You knew that in all actuality, you was out there fucking around with other bitches. So why kill her, huh? Like, what was the reason?
What was the reason?
Ooh, Cardi, sis, I wish to God I knew, because this was by far the dumbest reason why I have to ever understand anything like that. Like, I have heard of senseless killings, but this one here takes the cake. You got such this anger issue and temper problem and all of that, and your family just let you slide with that shit. Too many times your family let you slide with some shit. You disappear for 3 to 4 days at a time and then just come back on some "I'm sorry, I'll do better" type of vibe. I'm sorry, Imma put my foot in your ass, but then again, no, I'm not sorry. I'm not gonna apologize for being a parent, and that's the problem. Your mama was too busy trying to be your friend instead of your parent. She had no control over you, your grandmother had no control over you, your daddy and fucking stepmom had to get a restraining order against you. You thinking everybody after you. Newsflash, it ain't everybody else, nigga. It's you. At the end of the day, for your own father to feel like he's not saving you, and you threatening to kill your daddy and your stepmom, cause what? They tried to give your ass structure. You deserve every fucking thing that you get. You didn't like them controlling you, but guess what? Now your ass is getting controlled by I don't know how many inmates inside that prison, and I know they controlling that booty hole, bitch. I bet you that shit sound like a tornado at high speed whenever you walk past. Whenever you spread them cheeks, I bet that shit sound like a whisper in the wind. And for you to text your mama, you fucking miserable motherfucker. You text your mama because you were so mad, but you never thought to say, "Hey, it could possibly be another bitch that I'm fucking." Or, "You know what? It ain't just her that I'm fucking," or whatever. Instead, "Oh, let me call my mama." And then let's get on her for a second. Sheila, yo ass went from looking like fucking J Lo to hey ho. Yo ass bulked the fuck up in that jail and all of that, and now you walking around here looking like Cleo from Set It Off's grandmother, and the system aged the fuck out your ass. You knew that your son was gonna come up there, because had it not been for you, Keith never would have shown up in the first place. You calling him a bitch, but you were the bitch that gave him the fucking address as to where you work. And then you want to sit up here and talk about some, "Oh, this is how I talk to him." No parents should be calling your child a bitch. No parents should be calling their child dummies and all of that, and thinking that that's a way to calm somebody down by calling them a stupid ass. That's not how it works. You fucked up. At the end of the day, you gave your son the address talking about some, "Oh, well, just don't shoot up my car." Like, what the fuck? You knew what the fuck he was capable of. You knew that he had a gun. You knew that he had a record. You knew that he was serious about that because he pressed you about it. This nigga done busted out windows before. This nigga done been banned from his own daddy's house before. This nigga busted out the windows of Brooklyn's mama's house. This nigga beat a bitch in the streets. Like, come on, man. Don't sit up there and act like, "Oh, he's so fucking innocent." Miss me with that bullshit. You knew that he was serious about it. The minute that he said he was going to show up, I would have called the cops. They would be waiting on his ass at the door, because as soon as he pulled up and they found that gun on him, gotcha, bitch. It's better that you give him tough love and have his ass carted off when he pulls up than have him go and shoot the mother of his child, because now your stupid ass done got caught up in it too, bitch. How do you like being called a bitch? Since you calling your son a bitch, how do you like being called a bitch, you simple bitch, you? Because that's exactly what you are. Simple. You sat there and was all combative and shit with the people on the stand talking about some, "You have to understand, this is just how I talk to my son," and all of that. Fuck you mean. You didn't even raise him. You left all of your kids to be raised by your mother. And then you carried that on when your granddaughter was born. That woman is fucking 79 years old, stressed the fuck out on that damn stand. And now your ass is in prison for life without parole for some text messages, some shit that you could have controlled. You could have said, "No, son, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not giving you the address." Or, "Hey, you need to calm the fuck down." Or, "Hey, you need to think about this." Or better yet, send him a screenshot of the damn test results that Brooklyn sent you. Let Brooklyn know what's going on. "Hey, baby girl, this nigga talking about he coming up here to shoot you and kill you. I can't have that happen to the mother of my grandbaby." But you didn't do any of that. You sat there and you antagonized this man. You instigated it. You egged him on. You pushed him when he was already in a fucked up mental state. And now you just sitting back acting like, oh, it wasn't like that. Well, now your ass can rot in prison. You 52 years old and you gonna die in that motherfucker as you deserve. That is all for this week's episode of the Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast. You can follow the show on the various streams on Instagram and TikTok at Infamous One Podcast. That's a number one, by the way, not spelled out. And you can leave a review there. On X, it's Infamous One Pod, where you can also leave a review. On Facebook, you can join the private discussion group, the Infamous Ones discussion group. But please be advised, if you don't answer the questions, you ain't getting in. Y'all should know this by now. Once you get in there, come on in, have a seat. What's up? Tell us what you where you from and what you sipping on, all of that great stuff. The show streams on multiple streaming services like Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and so on and so on. So please leave a review. It only takes a few seconds. The reviews do matter. And now to those reviews. The first one comes from Spotify from Keisha1118. And it says, K girl, as always, you know how to tell a story. I look forward to your podcast every week and get so disappointed when I can't get my fix. Keep doing what you're doing, baby. Thank you, Keisha Boo. I appreciate it. I know y'all have been a little disappointed with me lately, but let me tell you, I promise I am getting stuff back on track. Like, know this. And thank you for continuing to rock with me and be patient, okay? The next review also comes from Spotify and it's from Jack. And it says, this is one of the 3 cases that have been covered by mainstream media. Okay, so I don't know if this was like a dig or not, but I wanted to address it. First and foremost, thank you, Jack, for your review. I know the purpose of the podcast is to shine light on cases that have not been covered by mainstream media. But, even though those that are well known to some, it may not be well known to others. There's plenty of cases that I've covered that have been in mainstream media and people still haven't heard about it. A lot of people hadn't heard about the Leicester Street murders and they were surprised when I told the story. A lot of people hadn't heard about the guy in Atlanta. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. I want to say his name was like Mark, but shot the judge and everything. They hadn't heard about that, but that was very, mainstream media. Like, I get it, it's foreign to some people, but the thing is, I'm going to always dive deep and find things that you may not have known. So I always, encourage you to listen. But thank you so much for that review. Hopefully, you are continuing to listen. I do want to also address a few things really quick, mobbers. First and foremost, thank you all for your patience these last few weeks. As I have not been on time with the episodes on Sunday. I know this past week I was ready to record and the fucking cord for the piece for the microphone just grew legs and walked away. And them things are expensive. I was trying to find it before, having to just break down and buy a new one. But clearly life was like, fuck that. And I just had to get a new one. Then, the mess with the show being pulled and having to deal with the reviews and all of that, like that was chaotic. And it's just, I'm clearly having to deal with a dark cloud. I don't know if it's because of what's going on in my personal life or what, but I am pushing for a change. Trust. This is not intentional. Your girl is bouncing back because I'm a motherfucking boss and I refuse to continue to allow this situation to punk me. Okay? Trust and believe. Your girl is back. I ain't stopping shit. Also, unfortunately, due to low interest in the October show, it is now at risk of being canceled. The sponsors have advised me that if there's not at least 10 tickets purchased by the end of the month, they're going to go ahead and cancel the Charlotte show because they don't want to risk putting money into an event with no guests. So it's kind of like out of my hands. But, if you would like to attend the Charlotte show in October, make sure to visit Eventbrite's website and purchase a ticket while they're $25 until August 31st. The next show after that is going to be in January in Miami. I definitely need y'all to show out for that. I think what I'm going to do is in the Facebook group, I'm going to make a post where everybody can just post where they want to see a show, and try to just go with the majority and do that. And, it may be a situation where I get with the sponsors and we switch stuff up and say, okay, hey, instead of 4 shows, let's just do 2 major shows, or whatever, and figure that out from there. But I need y'all to show up for Charlotte, October 25th, Charlotte, North Carolina. We're having a very intimate event. Your boy Seven the Panther's gonna be performing. Author Risha Tanae will be there with her release, My Rainbow is Here. Tipsy Sips will be serving free signature cocktails. And of course, there will be a new case told by moi. So get your tickets. They are 50% off right now, y'all. Y'all are getting all of that for $25 plus the meet and greet, plus pictures, everything. Oh, and don't forget The Missing Ones is coming Saturday, August 30th. I can't wait for y'all to hear it. I love the fact that this gives me opportunity to try to find missing people of color. So make sure you tune into that. If you want to support the show, or if you're feeling the spirit, meaning that liquor we've been sipping on, click the link at the bottom of the screen from whatever app you're listening to this episode on and hit listener support to subscribe. Subscriptions start at 99 cents, or you can also donate via Cash App to Infamous One Pod. That's $INFAMOUSONEPOD to donate there. Donations go toward court documents, interviews, etc. And as always, shout out to the popcorn gang gang. Love y'all. If you have a case that you want to hear more on that you feel has been ignored in the Black community, if you want to inquire about ad space or sponsorships, and there is some kits available for that. If you want to leave a review, send an email to infamous1pod@gmail.com. That's INFAMOUSONEPOD@gmail.com. Once again, people, please share, share, share. This podcast is growing by the day and it means the world, so keep sharing. Until then, y'all know what it is. I'm your girl Kay. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see y'all on Sunday with a new episode. Stay mobbing, y'all. Peace.